Okay, so tonight I'm going to talk about AI, in particular MCP. So we know that AI is everywhere just now, and yes, it is coming soon to WordPress in the form of MCP, and that's what we're going to be exploring tonight. What is MCP? What does it mean? How's it going to integrate with WordPress? How's it going to change things? A little bit of fun at the end as well. Okay, so let's start with the big, broad overview. Let's start right at the beginning. So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea is pretty simple. You can think of MCP like a universal translator. You know how back in the early 2010s, I think it was, phone chargers used to all be different, different connectors. And then suddenly everything went USB-C and life got a whole lot easier for everyone, manufacturers included. Well, MCP is a little bit like that. It gives AI tools and computer programs one shared common way to talk to each other. And there's been lots of attempts to do this before. Some have been successful, some haven't. But we think MCP is probably going to be a good standard way for computers to communicate with each other, especially AI. So right now, AI tools can be pretty smart, but they often guess what you want because they can't really see on your website or be your files unless you load them in, or the data in context. So they only see whatever you've typed into the chat box or whatever you've selectively uploaded them. And I know people upload PDFs and things. That's probably not the best format. AI tools like Markdown or normal text, even like if you're uploading a website, you've got all that guff in the background, all HTML and CSS, it kind of gets a bit confused. So it's not the best type of data anyway to be given your AI. So MCP fixes that by giving the AIs a safe, structured way to ask the things it needs and a clear response to get back as well in the context that they're asking. So I might say something like, can I see the latest blog posts? Or can I get a list of broken links? And your website can say yes or no based on the rules that you control. And we're going to explore MCP, what it means as in access to your website in a little bit. So the important part of this is MCP is about control and it's about clarity. Instead of AIs guessing what is in your site or trying to reference it itself and get lost in the CSS and everything else, MCP lets you hand over only the exact information that you choose as a website owner, nothing more. So if you remember one thing from this slide, it is that MCP is the new, safer way for AI to get the right information from your website without risky guessing or hacks or just completely getting it wrong. It's the future version of plug and play for AI tools. And WordPress is getting ready to speak this new language. It's coming soon. So now that we know roughly what MC is, basically, it's a universal translator for AI and software, let's chat about why it even exists. So right now, most AI tools act a bit like a super smart person who's wearing a bit of a blindfold. So they can answer your questions, but they can't actually see your website, your files, unless you copy it and paste the stuff into their chat window. And that means they're always kind of guessing, really. So sometimes AI gets it right. Most times it'll fail connecting to a URL. It's one of my biggest gurrs when I'm trying to use ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. I want it to go and reference a URL, and it just says either it can't connect or it can't read the data from it. It's really, really frustrating. So sometimes even goes off to la la land and just makes things up, which is even more frustrating. And that's because it doesn't really have real context. It doesn't have real access to the correct type of data. And MCP was created specifically to fix that gap. So MCP, it gives AI a safe, reliable way to ask your website things like, what pages do you have? What posts were published this week? Is anything broken on the website? Things like that. Okay. And your site can choose exactly, you as a business owner can choose exactly what information your website gives back to those requests. And this means that the AI stops guessing and can start actually being useful because it has the right information. It has the right information to at the right time in that context when it's asking things. So I'm just letting people in as they're turning up. This is all recorded, by the way. I'll make the recording available publicly in case you're wondering. Okay, another big reason that MCP exists is safety. So instead of letting AI run totally wild and poke around your whole website, MCP only exposes the bits that you, as a website owner, allow it to expose. So think of it like giving somebody the key to one room in your house instead of handing them all the keys you own to get in everywhere. To sum it up, MCP exists because AIs need real information to be helpful. The AI needs to get the information safely as well, and you as a business owner want to expose just the information that you want to give AI, not everything. And websites, they need a standard where to share that information across each other. And now WordPress is getting ready to join that world. So, okay, now that we know roughly what MCP is and why it exists, let's take a quick look at how it actually works without getting a bit too technical. I've been looking at this over the last few months, just as it's come out, exploring, what it is, why it's there, doing a little bit of tests. I was hopefully going to do a live test tonight, but I just didn't have time with my boy being sick. But maybe later on next year, we'll cover it a little bit as the technology matures. So how it actually works. Imagine 3 characters in a story. Character 1 is the AI tool. This is something like Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, some of the other AI tools that you might use. This is the helper. So it wants to do the things for you, but it of course needs permission and information to do that. The second character is the MCP, the adapter, the server, whatever you want to call it. This is the translator, it's the bridge. It makes sure that the AI tool asks for the things in the right way, and it makes sure that your website replies safely with the correct information that you want to give the AI and nothing less. Character number 3 is your WordPress website, of course. This is where your content, your pages, your products, your media, your SEO data, all that data lives. So the AI tool, it will send a request similar to, hey, can I see the last 5 blog posts? The MCP server takes that request and it checks some things. It says, is this the right, is this one of the allowed actions that I can do? Does the site allow this? And is the AI tool asking in the correct format, or is it just gibberish? If everything is okay, the MCP then passes the request to WordPress. It runs it like it would normally, a shortcode or a function or something, but it only sends back the information that's been approved by you. And MCP wraps it all up neatly and sends that back to the AI tool in a format that it can understand. So it's this common bridge between your website and any other software, but we're concentrating on your WordPress website and the AI that's requesting some information. So basically the flow is AI asks, MCP checks, WordPress replies, MCP bundles up and passes it back to the AI in an understandable fashion. It's controlled, it's tidy, it's safe. There's no guessing, there's no wandering around your site, getting lost, finding information that you don't want, and no, oops, I deleted something by mistake from the AI. I definitely don't want that to do. And that's why the structure is such a big deal for this. It really keeps both sides playing quite nicely together. Stephen's asking, how is that different to the WordPress API? We'll get to that. We'll get to that in the slide deck. We'll do a little bit of difference as to why this MCP exists. So, right, so let's talk about where WordPress specifically fits into this whole MCP world. As we know, WordPress is completely huge. It powers 45-ish% of the top 10, 100 million websites on the internet. Because of that, people who build WordPress, they know that AI tools are just around the corner, and they're going to come whether we're ready or not. So if AI is going to work with websites, it needs a really safe way and standard way to do it. Right now, WordPress is building something called the MCP Adapter. Some people call it an MCP server. It's the same thing, basically. So it is a plugin that teaches WordPress how to speak this new MCP language. Once it's in place, AI tools won't have to guess about your site anymore. They can ask proper questions, proper requests, and WordPress can answer properly. And we'll go into how it does that in the next slide. But the cool part of this is that WordPress doesn't just let AI see everything. Instead, it lets you, as a website owner, decide exactly what tasks AI can do and exactly what information AI can see it's exposed to. So WordPress becomes a bit of a middleman that says, yes, you may look at the latest posts, or no, you're not allowed to delete any pages and go away. So it's about safe, controlled access. And because WordPress is building this directly into its ecosystem, we know it's going to be a proper resource. It's not going to be hacky. It's not going to be a bolt-on. It's going to be part of the core WordPress eventually. And it's definitely part of the future. Matt Mullenweg has talked about AI in the last 2 or 3 WordCamp USs. So we definitely know it's a serious investment that they are looking to get going. So in simple terms, AI is learning how to talk to websites, and WordPress is making sure that it does that very safely, clearly, and with your permissions. So that's why WordPress is jumping into the MCP world right now. AI is such a big thing, you just can't ignore it. So rather than ignore it, or rather than just let a third-party developer take it away, they're building it into their core WordPress strategy. All right, so the next part is super important because it's the kind of glue that makes WordPress and MCP work together. So WordPress is introducing something called the Abilities API. The name sounds a bit superhero-ish, but honestly, it is really. So you can think of the Abilities API like a list of superpowers that your website can choose to share with AI tools, but only the ones that you pick and only the way that you want to. So here's an easy example. The website might have abilities like show me the last 5 posts, create a draft post, list all pages, check if any links are broken, give me the SEO data for post ID number XYZ. Okay, so each one of these is an ability. It's a defined action that the AI is allowed to perform on your website. So the point is this: before the Abilities API, AI tools would have to poke around using something called the WordPress REST API, which gives them a huge amount of power. And if you're not careful, if you're not secured things down, it's kind of like handing someone the keys to your whole house. But with the Abilities API, you're handing them one single key to one single room and only for a specific purpose. So the MCP abilities are clear, from the Abilities API, they're going to be very, very clear and specific. So very clear, each one does one thing. So one ability does one thing. One ability is safe, so you control who can use them, what AIs are allowed to connect to your website. It's going to be limited. So each ability, the AI can't do anything outside that ability. And it's going to be permission-based. So WordPress checks who is asking. And this is what makes MCP work well with WordPress. So where MCP asks, what abilities does this website have? And WordPress replies with a list of safe controlled options. So the Abilities API basically is WordPress saying, here are the things that I can let AI do safely and sensibly. And this moves WordPress from a world of guesswork into a world that clearly defines actions. Now, I believe that the Abilities API is going to ship with WordPress 6.9, and that is currently scheduled for 2nd of December, I think. Now, whether it stays in there or gets pulled out, we don't know. The REST API was a bit like that. So it was going to be in this version, then it wasn't, then it's going to be in the next version, and it wasn't. So at the moment, it's in the beta. It's in I think there's a release candidate 1 at the moment for WordPress 6.9. But whether it's going to be in there or not, we don't know. But there are more developer details on that URL that's there. And I'll put all these URLs into the notes on the meetup page as well, so you don't have to scribble them down. But that was good. It's on developer.wordpress.org. It's in the news for this year in November, and then you're looking for introducing the WordPress Abilities API. And that document will then spur out into different other documents, API docs, things like that. You can have a look over and just see kind of what it's going to be like. But I guess the key thing to take away from this slide is that the Abilities API is this kind of glue that's going to allow this MCP system to work and talk with WordPress. Okay, so now that we understand abilities, kind of, and the MCP adapter, let's answer some of the big questions that people usually ask around this. So how does the AI tool actually talk to an MCP server, stroke adapter, whatever they're going to call it? The good news is it's much simpler than people would think. So AI tools and MCP servers, they talk using normal web requests. So webhooks, basically. So you send a bunch of data to WordPress that's listening on a particular port number. It does its stuff and then sends it back to the caller. Now it's using a format called JSON. You might not have heard that before, but it's JSON. It's just a tidy text format that looks a bit like a list of tables or labels and values, that sort of thing. It can be read by humans and computers, so that's always a good bonus. So let me walk you through some of the steps in a really simple way. So step one, the AI tool sends the request. So the AI tool sends a JSON request to the MCP server that's sitting inside the WordPress core eventually. And that looks something like this. Okay, so we've got a type. This is the calling tool. We've got the tool itself, or the request ability, which is get recent posts, and some arguments limited to 5 responses back. So it's kind of easy for us to see. It's easy for the computers to understand. We see exactly what's going on. Get recent posts. We'll limit that to number 5. So the AI is basically saying, please run, get the recent posts ability, and give me the first 5 that comes back for those. Now, step 2, the MCP server checks the request. So the adapter, the server, it checks that this ability is allowed. It's actually on the list of allowed things to run. It checks to see if the user has permission to run it, and it checks that the request is valid. So that JSON, that bit of text there, is a valid call. If everything's okay, it runs the ability. If not, it just returns fail or not allowed, something like that. So step 3, if everything is okay, WordPress then performs that action. So the WordPress runs that ability, just like any other function. But in this case, it's going to pull the list of posts and format the results. And then the MCP server will send back a nice tidy response, something like this. This would be an example JSON response. It goes back to the AI tool that's requesting information. And so the type is response. And here we've got content, and content is an array. And you can see here there's 2 blog posts being returned, a title and a URL, a title and a URL. So easy for us to understand, easy for computers to understand. JSON's pretty much a common structured language nowadays that most computer programs use to exchange data. And so it was like the best choice for the MCP exchange. So now the AI tool knows exactly what the website was returned and can use that to help you or whatever task that's running. Everything is structured, everything is predictable, and there's no surprises, there's no guessing, there's no random scraping of websites, just clear requests and a clear response. And this is why MCP is so appealing. It gives the AI tools safe, structured way to access WordPress abilities without ever touching anything you should not be allowed to touch. So Stephen was asking about what's the difference between the WordPress API and MCP abilities. So that's this slide here. I'll just take some water. Okay, so let's compare these two, new WordPress abilities versus the REST API. Now, the way AI tools would normally talk to WordPress versus the way they'll talk to WordPress using the new abilities approach. If an AI tool wants to connect to a WordPress website, currently it has to use something called the REST API. That's the best or most extensive public way of WordPress to make data available. So the REST API is super powerful. It lets you do almost anything on a site if you're logged in. And that includes things like creating posts, deleting posts, changing settings, editing users, all that sort of stuff. Okay. So the problem is with a REST API, that's just too much power. Too much power to give an AI, especially a maybe unpredictable AI that could go off on some la tangent at some point. So this is like Iron Man 2, where Tony Stark gains access to the entire government's computer system. So it's not good from the system owner's perspective. Too much information, too much power for those. It's just like giving a contractor keys to your entire home. Sure, they might only want to check your refrigerator, but with that key, they can also open your bedroom, your office, maybe get access to your safe, all that rubbish stuff. And AI, well, it doesn't always mean to misbehave, but it also doesn't always know any better. It just does things. It's like a little kid sometimes. The abilities API changes this completely. So abilities are tiny. They're bite-sized actions that only have to do one thing, and they're very safe. So for example, show me your latest post, create a draft but don't publish it, tell me your site health score, something like that. That's it. No extra powers, no wandering, no accidents. So the big difference with this is the REST API. It's a huge toolbox with every tool inside that you could or may need. But the abilities API is one safe tool action at a time, and it's chosen by you. So with the REST API, AI could do way more than you wanted for it to do on the website. The abilities API can do exactly what you want, but nothing else. So it's like a shift of viewpoint. Rather than giving you access to everything on the website, it starts with having nothing, and then you add on what capability, what abilities that you want to give that particular little function. And this shift is why MCP works so well with WordPress. MCP wants clear, safe actions, and the abilities API gives WordPress a kind of neat way, a neat menu of things to tell the AI what's allowed in the WordPress abilities. Kind of like GraphQL, I guess, if there's some developers out there with GraphQL, which is an alternative way of storing and accessing database information. With GraphQL, you can actually ask it, what functions can you give me? What functions are allowed in this database? And it'll tell you what you can then query it against. This is kind of similar. So the AI will ask a WordPress website, what abilities do you have? And the MCP server can say, right, well, you can do this stuff. Yeah, so it's going to allow the AI to explore your website in a safe, controlled manner. Okay, so this is the part where everything comes together. WordPress MCP Adapter, that's what we're kind of been talking about. This is the glue, the kind of middleman, the bridge in between. So we've talked about it being a universal translator. We've talked about abilities, those safe little actions that WordPress can offer. Now we need the thing that helps those two sides actually talk to each other, and that thing is going to be called the WordPress MCP Adapter, or at least that's its working title at the moment. The adapter is basically a plugin that teaches WordPress that brand new language on how to connect to the AI tools. So things like, here are my abilities, here are the actions you perform, here are the rules of this website. And the adapter really does three big jobs. There they are right there. So firstly, it reads the WordPress abilities. So we talked about that. It looks up your website and says, okay, so you've enabled these safe actions, get posts, make draft, check health, get SEO score from a particular post with a URL. Second part, it converts them into the MCP format, the JSON format. So the AI tools, they don't speak WordPress, they don't want to speak, owners don't want them to speak REST API to them. So they speak MCP instead. So the adapter is going to translate everything into a nice, clean, AI-ready list of actions that the AI can perform. And the last step is it controls the conversation very safely. So this is a big one. The adapter checks who is asking, so you can limit it to particular AIs, particular systems. It asks what are they allowed to access, and is this action safe to do? And if something's not going to be allowed, WordPress simply says, nah, go away. And the AI tool never gets any access to anything. So the MCP adapter, the server, it's a bit like a bouncer at the door. Yes, you can come into the lobby, but not the whole building. Here's a phone list of places you can call and get some information, but you're not allowed into lift and upstairs and offices, that sort of thing. So the plugin is being built as part of WordPress's or Automatic's long-term plan for AI. It means WordPress won't rely on random third-party integrations. It'll have an official, safe, structured way to work with AI right from the very start. Now, I couldn't find a repo in the WordPress.org plugins. In fact, there's a GitHub address. I've put that on the pages now. So github.com/automatic, it's WordPress-MCP. So Automatic, Automaticians, other developers, they've been working from this GitHub repo at the moment. And I think there's a note on that repo that says that once this is kind of formally put into a form that they can then go into a plugin, they'll add that into the plugin repo. But at the moment, it's a very kind of private thing, just with developers. They're trying to work out little chunks to get it ready for a more kind of public alpha beta distribution as a plugin that other developers can load in and play around with and contribute back, whether it's feedback or whether it's code. That's generally how these plugins work. So it's a similar thing. You might remember, WordPress 3 something 5, I think it was. They had the new WordPress admin menu, and that was one of these plugins that was released, and then lots of feedback, and it changed. We had the customizer. That was one of these types of plugins that people could install and give feedback. Even Gutenberg as well, so the block editor, that was first released as a plugin that you could load into WordPress and play around with, give feedback, and all that sort of thing. So this is the same approach. This is going to happen. It'll be a plugin you can install, play around with, give feedback, update code, and all that sort of thing. David is saying that the new version is got a different address. So I can pop that. Oh, everyone can see that in the comments. Okay, so I'll update the slide. Thanks very much, David. That's good. Okay, so there we go. So what's the current state of MCP for WordPress right now? So the honest snapshot of where this is at the moment in WordPress world right now, it's still early days, very, very early days. Imagine like if the first iPhone stage of this technology. So it exists, it works, but the world hasn't really caught up to this yet. So here's the lowdown right now. WordPress/Automatic/other developers are actively working on this MCP support right now. There's an official team building this MCP adapter and the new abilities API that powers it. It's not something random, it's part of this new roadmap. Automatic is heavily investing in AI because it's just appeared, obviously, and everyone's talking about it, everyone's using it, so it's now part of that strategic roadmap. So it's going to be in core eventually. Some early plugins and demos already exist, so not particularly in the WordPress.org plugins, but different people have GitHubs, repos, and they're kind of experiment with MCP servers and demos and things. You can find them, they're out there. I don't have a particular list, but they already exist out there. They're basically great for learning, but they're not really ready for real business websites yet. This technology is still very much alpha type, kind of people playing around and playing things, breaking things, and figuring out how it's going to work. Tools like MCP Inspector, that's a third-party tool. If you're installing some of these plugins, it can already talk to WordPress. So you can do experiments today, as long as you're on a staging development site, and please don't do it on your actual business site or your client's website just yet. It's not mature. The AI tools, you're starting to see MCP creep up in a lot of tools. So Claude Desktop was probably one of the first ones. ChatGTP, Zapier. I use ClickUp for my project management. ClickUp has can use a third-party MCP server. So you're starting to see this stuff appear in AI-enabled software just now. So it's kind of burgeoning. We're getting there at the moment. So this is a big hint about the future. If these tools are adapting this thing, it's probably the standard way that things are going to go when this technology matures. But of course, the caveat is it's not production ready yet. So we're talking experiments, previews, alphas, early building blocks. It's exciting, but it's also a bit fragile and a bit Wild West. So yeah, just bear that in mind if you're playing with this technology. So the big takeaway really is MCP in WordPress. It's coming, and the foundation is being built right now, but it's very early stage technology. It's so just be careful. I would keep up with it, but yeah, just experiment and just have a think about it. But it's not production ready at the moment. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what this actually means, really, for normal WordPress users. If you're a small business owner, maybe a freelancer, maybe a designer, someone who wants to work with clients, you're probably wondering, this all sounds cool, but what can MCP actually do for me? So here's some simple real-world MCP things that could make life a little bit easier. One is faster content work and workflows. So imagine telling an AI tool, show me on my blog post for last month, or make a draft based on this topic, this idea that I've got just now, and it goes and does it right on your website. It doesn't publish it, of course, but just leaves it as a draft. So no hunting through menus, no clicking around the dashboard, it just does it for you, maybe from your phone. You just add ChatGPT to connect to your website. Quick website check updates. So AI could ask things like, is anything broken? Finding broken links? Is there any orphaned posts? Are there any slow posts? How's my SEO looking overall for these keywords today? And WordPress could format all that, handle the information to your AI agent, and they could produce a report for you. You can even schedule that and have it there sitting on your desktop 8 a.m. in the morning when you get into work. Smarter admin help. So instead of you reading long dashboard reports and things like that, AI could summarize your analytics, your plugin updates, or store activity, and it could then report that back into plain English. Like here's the important stuff for today. Safer automation. So AI can perform little tasks for you, only the ones that you approve and only the ones that are safe using controlled abilities. And easier support and troubleshooting. So imagine an AI guided help like overnight, your AI agent did a whole sweep of the website and he found your contact form was misconfigured. So click here and have a look. So something's not working. It needs you as a website owner to go and have a look at this form and fix it. So nothing scary really, nothing overpowered, just kind of less fiddling, more kind of doing. So it's going to be lots of tasks as a general website owner that you're going to be able to automate with this type of technology and an AI agent. And so the key idea really is MCP is about giving AI, it's not about giving AI full control of your website. It's about making everyday tasks a little bit simpler, a little bit faster, a little bit safer, being able to automate these things. So for many WordPress users, especially like small business users, it could feel like having a bit of a friendly assistant who actually understands your website now. So we're seeing that AI is becoming used a lot more in small businesses. This now includes your business website, which is part of your business. Daniel says, I believe that this will not be a straightaway plugin, as you will need server privileges. Okay, well, I'm not sure about the technical side, so I've not looked into the technical side, but it's going to be one of these feature plugins that will more than likely be merged into WordPress core. Okay, so some other use cases specifically for small business users. These aren't sci-fi ideas. They're just kind of simple everyday tasks that people are going to use it. Let's see, I've got a slide for this. Easier content creation. So you're going to basically be asking your AI, please make me a draft post about my latest workshop or the last event that I attended. Or I could say, hey, make me a draft post about the WordPress meetup I did in November. And the AI would go out, would find the last meetup, it would bring it down, it draft it together, put it into your website. They're ready for me to then come and pick up the content in there. Fantastic, sounds good. And so can I create a draft? WordPress says, yeah, that's allowed. And boom, draft appears. So you still edit and approve it, but the slow part is kind of done for you. Website health checks. So right now, checking a site's health by clicking through a bunch of menus and site health and stuff. With MCP, you could simply ask it, is anything broken on the website today? And it'll come back, yeah, no, or yeah, we need to do this. So WordPress answers with real data and you get a nice summary instead of hunting around. So it's a bit proactive. SEO is going to be a big one, I think. You can ask AI, how's my SEO looking today? The AI uses MCP to get things like slow pages, SEO scores. If you're using whatever plugin, Yoast or SEO Press or Rank Math, they can grab the data straight out of all the posts, do all this calculation, and then tell you in plain English, how your SEO is doing overall for today, this month, compared with last month, that sort of stuff. Easy reporting. So instead of reading dashboards, you basically ask it again, tell me how many visitors I had this week, show me my most popular pages this month, and AI can then fetch that information through MCP safely, and it gives you all those highlights. Smarter reminders. So AI could remind you of important tasks to check on your website. For example, it could say things like, or it could do things like your contact form hasn't had any submissions in 3 days. It might be worth testing to see if there's any issues. Less digging through WordPress. Of course, many business owners, they don't really want to dive into the WordPress dashboard and all those widgets there. They just want a single place to go to. So MCP allows AI to pull that right information to them instead of going around hunting for it. So that's the main idea. MCP is not going to replace people, but it will remove a lot of those little tasks that steal time and kind of mental energy. And it's going to be having like a tiny assistant who actually understands your website and only does what you allow. So here's some use cases for freelancers. So when I say multi-site, I'm not meaning WordPress multi-site as in lots of sites in the one WordPress. I'm thinking about more if you're managing lots of different sites. I know there's tools to do that, but AI is going to make this a bit smarter. So imagine looking after 10 client sites, 50 client sites, 100 client sites. Instead of logging into a dashboard and looking at them all individually, you just ask it, show me the out-of-date plugins across all my websites. And WordPress replies with a neat list. And so it's going to save you heaps of time, but even touching a dashboard. Faster content and layout updates as well. So designers often get annoying little requests like, can you add this paragraph? Can you fix this typo? Can you update this headline? You need to approve. So AI could kind of draft all this stuff up using like MCP approved abilities, and then you would approve them kind of like pull requests. So no need to dig around page by page. This one is kind of real to me. I've got several clients that, they ask for page updates, of course, that sometimes they give a page name or even a page description and an annotated screenshot. And I've got to go through maybe hundreds of pages, just kind of figure out which one is the correct one. So imagine if AI could identify that page for me, and then it saves me 5-10 minutes for all these different tasks. So I'd be thumbs up for that one. Quick debugging checks. So AI could run safe abilities like check my site speed, check for missing alt text, check the links that are broken, then summarize what needs work. So that's going to be perfect for use freelancers that maybe do monthly care plans for those. Smoother client communication. So clients often say things like my site feels slow or something looks a bit weird. So AI using MCP could actually gather real data from the site, which might lead to a quicker diagnosis and a proper report. Easier onboarding and investigations for new clients. So this is a big one. So AI can pull a snapshot of things like your theme info, active plugins, page count, media library size, outdated plugins, scan, the WordPress vulnerabilities database, all that sort of stuff for those. So this could be used, for example, maybe even prospective clients. So just say you're thinking about taking on a client, you're doing a bit of a triage. You can maybe say to them, well, just let me quickly examine your website, and you send off this AI request. And it pulls all that information out for you when you're on that triage call. And you can say, all right, mate, you've got like 40 plugins that are out of date. One hasn't been updated since 2016. So, you can, that sort of stuff, it's going to make things a bit easier for those particular kind of functions. And safer automation. So this is a huge part of freelancers. You'll be able to let AI handle these kind of small requests that you normally do by hand, but only inside the abilities that you allow as a site owner. No scary surprises, just controlled efficiency. So that's ideas off the top of my head that people could be able to do. if you're a business owner or if you're a freelancer as well. So this is the important slide of what MCP can't do at the moment. So it's really good to have an idea, clarity as to what it can actually do or what it won't do. So it's not going to give AI full control of your website. So it's not going to wander where it wants. It can't open random menus. It can't change settings. It's not going to publish stuff on its own. It can only do those safe little actions, those abilities that you're going to allow on the website. MCP does not bypass user permissions. So if your WordPress user cannot do something, the AI can't do it either. So WordPress is still going to check everything. You're going to be allowed to assign abilities to a user or to specific roles as well. So you're still going to get that WordPress security. MCP doesn't unlock any new superpowers. It just gives a clear path as to using the powers that it already has. It's not going to replace the WordPress dashboard. You will not log in one morning to find the dashboard has been replaced by an AI chat box, not in the short term anyway. You still make the final decisions, you still click on the publish button, you still run your website. MCP simply is going to let AI perform safe, helpful, small tasks. It's not going to run the whole show, at least not just yet. MCP does not read private data unless you allow it. This has been a big thing on some of the forums. People are a bit scared as to how much data this MCP AI connector is going to allow. So it doesn't. AI is not going to get access to your orders, your invoices, your customer data, or private content unless you create an ability to expose that data and you approve it. The default way is always no. And that's why I like it versus the REST API. So the REST API exposes everything all at once. MCPs, they assume that you don't have access at all. So you're building on top of nothing, of no access. I think that's the right way it should be. That's a privacy first approach. And I really like that. MCP does not magically fix or optimize your website. So AI still needs abilities to do things. It doesn't just go off and do the things. If you don't expose the ability, like check broken links, then AI simply will not be able to do it, not through this MCP process anyway. Okay. Here's security. I said a little bit of this in the previous slide. So WordPress still controls everything. MCP doesn't have any particular powers. It's not going to jump over your WordPress roles or permissions. They're still there and they're there for a reason. So if your role cannot delete the posts, then AI won't be able to delete the posts either. So there's no secret backdoors for this. It's privacy first. It would clean up a dead link and bot would be awesome. It certainly would. Abilities are like tiny permission slips. Each ability has a small action. It only does one job. You choose which abilities exist. You choose who can use them. You choose what they return. So it's really up to you as a website owner. And that's the safest way for the AI to interact with your site because nothing is exposed by default. MCP checks everything before it runs. So it's going to be part of its job. So when the AI tool makes a request, the MCP part in the WordPress core is going to do a little handshake with WordPress. It's going to ask, is this allowed? Is this person ability allowed? Is this ability safe to run? If any of those checks fail, then nothing happens. That's going to be the default response. So it's like having a really picky security guard, only kind of lets approved actions through the door. No ability means no access. So if this ability does not exist, if you don't create one, then the AI can't even ask for it. So, if you decide not to implement MCP, that's fine. Any AI that's going to hit your website, it's going to bounce back. So it's just not there. And that's what makes it so different from the REST API, because the REST API just goes, yeah, there you go, have this stuff, have that stuff. So I like the privacy first approach with nothing. So everything is opt-in. So that's your site is always locked down until you turn the abilities on. And that's really important. It's a particularly important structural decision that the developers have made, or this working group has made about MCP. So the message is simple here. MCP is built to be safer. It's smaller, it's more controlled than any other previous ways of letting AI or anything really talk to WordPress. It's permission first, not powered first. And that's why WordPress is going in this direction. It reduces risk of adding it into the WordPress core, and I like that. Okay, almost at the end now. So when might MCP become mainstream? Let's just talk about timelines. This slide is really more about expectations, because even though MCP is exciting, it's not something that's fully inside WordPress today. So think of it like a new highway. The plans are drawn, the foundations are being poured, but the highway is kind of not open yet. They're just testing it. They're testing the roadworthiness. So why are the early building blocks? Why are we in the early building blocks phase? So right now, WordPress developers are working on things like the Abilities API. They're working on this MCP adapter. It's not really public yet, so it's not ready for public testing. They're still, playing around with how this is going to work and ensuring its safety first. WordPress 6.9, so that is going to be delivered. I think I mentioned before, the date is December the 2nd currently. So it's been hinting that the Abilities API is going to be released with this. I think that's the current thought at the moment. But it's not a flip the switch moment. It's more like a kind of slow, steady rollout. So even if the Abilities API is going to be included in WordPress 6.9, it doesn't mean we're fully MCP there yet. It's just very kind of small, steady steps. And there's always a chance it could get pulled out as well. It's good to note that MCP is still experimental. So there's demo plugins, there's early servers, there's preview tools, and they are great for learning, but they're not ready for business critical websites just yet. So the ecosystem is still growing its sea legs at the moment. AI tools are gearing up faster than WordPress. This is an interesting point when I was kind of doing the research for this meetup. AI tools like Claude, Desktop, ChatGTP, I talked about ClickUp as well. They already support MCP, or kind of moving in that right direction. They're prepared for this future, they're ready, and they're kind of waiting for the websites to catch up, which is weird, in an exciting way. So full mainstream use, it's going to take time. To be honest, we're probably maybe 1 or 2 years away from MCP becoming a commonly used feature every day in WordPress workflows. If it goes that way, we've seen systems and protocols evolve into other things before. So it could be that MCP is just a test ground and something else evolves out of it. But at the moment, it's looking, people are still testing and beta testing. So it's not science fiction. It's not science fiction as in it's going to be 20 years ahead, but it's not going to be tomorrow either. So it's just a coming soon at a steady pace at the moment. So MCP in WordPress is coming. It's real, it's important. I think it's important. But right now we're kind of just on the beginning of the journey, not the end. So it's the perfect time to learn, because when it does arrive, you'll already know how it works. So learn about it now is probably the best thing you can do. So I thought I'd have a little bit of fun. And this slide and the next one is just about what in the future we can actually imagine happening with MCP if it does go ahead in the format that we think. Not science fiction, really, just the kind of changes that we see likely once MCP kind of becomes a normal part of our WordPress workflow. Here's some things I thought about. WordPress gets a built-in AI helper panel. That's actually on the books, I think. I think that's been talked about already, or at least there's demos of that. So you can imagine logging into WordPress and seeing a little panel that says, would you like help checking your website today? Or would you like help drafting your post? A bit like Clippy. Remember Clippy in Microsoft Word many years ago? It looks like you want to draft a blog post. Can I help you? Hopefully it'll be a smarter Clippy. But that helper could use MCP abilities to safely look at things in your latest posts or your page speed. Nothing scary, just a friendly assistant who knows the rules. Daniel says MCP will allow a user to combine all LMM, and that's why they don't like it. It'll take away the subscription base. Possibly. You don't know what's going to happen. This is all speculation in this slide. How about drafts appear automatically? So you might wake up, go into the office, and your first message on this AI panel might be, hey, Will, I noticed you posted on Instagram yesterday, so I made a matching draft blog post for you. Do you want to review it? And AI gets all that information through MCP and whatever custom agent I've been programming. You still get to approve everything, edit and publish, but it kind of AI's done the grunt work and on your website. Shortcuts, tasks for owners and designers as well. So you could click a button that says, check my site for anything weird. And behind the scenes, AI uses MCP abilities to look for broken links, slow pages, missing text, alt tags, all that kind of stuff that you don't want to do, but kind of needs to be done. And then it can give you a tidy report. So that's stuff that could happen. Easier team workflows. So AI could help teams stay organized. For example, here, 5 pages that are out of date info, or this product, this WooCommerce product needs new photos because it's been 2 years, and I just noticed that you've rebranded, things like that. So small jobs become a little bit easier, AI friendly, can see real kind of website context, and it understands things in the context of your website and your business and the stuff that you're dealing with in AI. Fast support and troubleshooting. So when a client says my site feels slow, AI could gather all those facts instantly using those safe abilities. You get the real story without having to kind of click through 10 menus and check out all the plugins and all that sort of stuff. So I think AI is going to really help in that kind of WordPress client site maintenance role. Plugins start adding MCP abilities. So plugins, once this becomes stable, once it becomes core, once it becomes widespread, you're going to see plugin makers begin to offer MCP abilities in the same way they offer shortcodes or add-ons today. So for example, list my WooCommerce orders, or check for low stock, or compare the number of orders for this time last week, last month, that sort of stuff. And that's going to be normal. So once this is adopted, you're going to see all these big plugins really kind of add these abilities so they can interact with these AI agents. So that's kind of my thoughts the next kind of few years. MCP is going to make WordPress feel a little bit more helpful, more guided, a little bit smarter within your AI workflows, but still you're under full control, which is good. So nothing wild, just kind of quality of life improvements. Okay, so now we're going to jump into the silly zone, of course. So these are ideas that might happen or might never happen, or might only happen after a very strong coffee. So think of this slide as part of the movie where the characters imagine the future and everything gets a bit wild. So nothing here is a promise, it's just all a bit fun, but also just maybe, who knows. Okay, so here's some crazy future ideas for MCP. Your website can become a little bit bossy. So you log in and your site says, hey, I noticed your brand is inconsistent. I fixed it for you. You're welcome. And then it gives you homework to do further modifications on your website. And you're like, hey, wait a minute, is it my website or is it yours? Who knows? AI with attitude. It could be coming. Next one, plugins negotiate with each other at 3 a.m. So imagine waking up and seeing a message that says, hey, Yoast SEO and WooCommerce sorted out their differences overnight. They agreed on a smoother workflow. They shook hands. Everything's fine now. You don't need to worry. I'm like, what? So all this back-end stuff, these AIs that interact with each other. It could be. They could start arguing with each other. Which leads to step number 3. AIs fight with your AI. So one AI says, I think your hero page image should be blue. And another AI says, hey, I strongly disagree about that. And they have this argument, and then you have to step in like a parent. Both of you, stop it. Go to your corners. It could happen. Yeah, no worries, Asha. Thanks for joining. Your site fixes things even before you notice anything wrong. Like, I noticed your contact form is broke, so I created a backup, tested it, and replaced the broken one. No need to thank me. Now, developer brain will go, panic. But the owner's brain will go, sweet. So different perspective. But these things could happen. Depends how smart these AI agents are going to be. What about this one? Your site becomes your marketing assistant, or even worse, your marketing manager. One morning, the website says, hey, I wrote next week's newsletter, designed images, posted a teaser to Instagram and LinkedIn, scheduled a blog post. Oh, I also raised your pricing. The last part, a bit concerning. We have to be able to define what AI can do, and that's what MCP's learning at the moment. Start with nothing and just give access. But it could happen. Number 6, clients start saying strange things. You might hear from a client that says, my website told me to take the day off. Everything's in hand. Everything's in order. Take the day off. Go play golf. Or, my site told me it was hungry. Is that normal? What does that mean? This is all about AI going a bit rogue, a bit weird sometimes. So, and this is the worst one I thought about. Fully automated rebuilds. Homepage looking stale. Website says, hey, I went ahead and redesigned your entire site last night. Tell me if you like version A, B, C, D. Then it shows you 10 versions that all look better than your current website or that your paid designer has come up with. So that's scary. Future scary. So the point of this slide is just a bit of fun. The real future is probably going to be a mix of helpful, weird, surprising, sometimes unexpected, probably unexpected things, I think. But imagine the really silly stuff that kind of helps you understand how to put MCP in context, kind of understand how powerful it could be and could eventually become, but very much early on technology at the moment. Okay, so this is the end. We've covered a lot today after a lot of talking. We've looked at what MCP is, why it exists, how WordPress is getting ready for it, and even some fun ideas about the future, maybe some not so fun ideas as well. So let's finish with something simple. Here are the things you can do right now if you want to be ready for all this in the next few years. So step one is just to keep an eye on MCP. You don't need to install anything today. You don't need to do any testing. Just follow some of the news from the WordPress project, follow it on Make, and see how the Abilities API and MCP Adapter develop. Awareness is probably enough for now, unless you're a developer and want to dig in. You can start paying attention to AI tools that implement MCP. So as I mentioned before, tools like Claude, ChatGTP, other SaaS tools like the one that I use, ClickUp, they're already adding MCP support. So you don't have to use that today, but when you see MCP compatible pop up somewhere, you're now going to understand exactly what that means, and you're going to know that these tools are investing something, and these tools don't want to lose money. So if they're investing in these things, there's a likelihood that that's the direction that things are going to go in. Learn the basic ideas, not the code. You don't need to learn programming to benefit from MCP. In fact, I don't think we've, apart from a little bit of JSON code, I don't think we've talked about anything developer-wise in this talk. You only really need to understand the concepts. Safe abilities, controlled access, AI asking nicely instead of guessing. You already understand the important parts after today of MCP. What you could do is you can maybe think about future-proofing stuff. So think about what small tasks you would love help with. Do you hate checking site health? Do you forget about post updates? Do you just like digging through the dashboard? Yeah, I can help with all this stuff when MCP really matures. So start thinking and noticing about those little tasks that drain your admin time, and you can maybe get some help with when this technology is ready. If you're on client sites, consider how MCP might fit in. I think there's a lot of ways. I think this could be a big thing with AI and abilities. Run faster reports, custom reports, faster audits, smarter maintenance, more productive support. You don't need to know anything right now. You just need to think that these options are kind of coming. And yeah, just stay curious. I think MCP is going to be a slow, careful rollout. Nothing's going to break just now. Nothing's going to be forced on you. And if you want to be ready, then it's a good idea to learn this stuff so that most, get to know it before most people kind of catch up to it. So start paying attention, get kind of familiar with the idea, be ready to explore when the time is right. That's me. If you want to connect with me, I've got 4 websites: willbrown.com, zeropointdevelopment.com, WPSwingman.com, and wasg.com.au. Or those are my handles. I'm mostly on LinkedIn. I do a little bit on X as well, but mostly on LinkedIn at the moment. I'm going to ask for questions. I'm going to get rid of my slides and go back to view. So I'll go through the chat and see if I can pull out anything relevant. Let's see if I can stop sharing. Stop share. There we go. Okay, I'll go through see. Yep, some people have dropped out. Yep, that's fine. It'll be recorded. What time is it? Just after 7. Yep, that's not too bad. Ongoing A/B testing and refinement sounds good to me from Stephen. Yes, get AI agents to automatically test. Why not just your homepage, not just every page, every button, and see what currently works. From Kieran, yep. From David, would the bigger opportunity be to help with answers to common business questions? If you're a service business, what products available? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. With AI having context or understand stuff from your website, just now becomes that bigger part of the workflow, which is great. To actually understand stuff rather than trying to scrape. Yep, no problem. Steph, yep, you're welcome. You're welcome, Gary. I'll give 30 seconds for any more questions. If you have questions, type it in chat or you can jump online. Otherwise, we'll call it a night. Okay, cool. If you do have any other questions, you can contact me through LinkedIn or through the meetup page, and happy to answer any of those. I'll format this video, post it on YouTube, post it on Meetup. I'll make the presentation available for everyone as well. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. Have a great Monday evening or wherever you are, and I'll see you in February again. Bye, everyone. Thank you.